We've already had our say on the third generation BMW X1, one of the best entry-spec luxury cars out there. But let's be honest, there's nothing remotely entry-level about it. It looks substantial, it's loaded with tech, and it doesn't even feel like a compromise. The same praise carried over to the iX1, BMW's electric X1, which made a compelling case for itself as a stylish, green-minded alternative in the entry luxury space. And it was blisteringly quick as well, with plenty of grip from its dual motor setup.
But BMW isn't done yet. They've gone a step further with the iX1, spotting two key trends in the luxury car space. First, buyers are warming up to EVs a lot faster if they know that the real-world range is over 450 kilometers, because let's face it, no one wants to add to their existing daily stress with range anxiety. The second trend they spotted is that when you're spending that kind of money in the luxury car space, there is an odd satisfaction in knowing your car is longer than your neighbor's.
This is where the long wheelbase or the LWB trend kicks in, especially among luxury car buyers in India. More rear legroom equal to more prestige.
So BMW took the iX1, stretched its wheelbase by about 108 millimeters, but somewhat surprisingly left the battery pack untouched. No extra cells, no larger battery pack at all. In fact, they deleted the rear motor, gave it a front-wheel drive setup only, and somehow magically squeezed out a claimed range of 531 kilometers. Clever or lazy?
Because that would mean more development costs, more testing, and recalibrating the entire battery management system. But the downside?
Less power and less grip. You see, the standard iX1 in India had an all-wheel drive setup, which means a motor at the rear end and the motor over the front axle, making for the xDrive in BMW speak, or electric all-wheel drive. This one, however, in its LWB avatar is front-wheel driven only, or eDrive in BMW speak, very similar to the S-Drive on the standard X1, which is a front-wheel drive car. Now, the deficit here is the power. With the all-wheel drive, the standard X1 put out over 300 PS and 500 Newton meters. This one, however, only puts out 205 PS and about 250 Newton meters. The result? The 0 to 100 sprint is a lazy 8.6 seconds. That's still quicker than the X1 diesel, but a whole lot slower than the standard iX1, which could do it in 5.9 seconds.
So if you are expecting gut-punching acceleration, you will be disappointed. But if you want something with more range and a premium, spacious cabin, the iX1 LWB will open its doors and say, "Be my guest." Everything that we loved about the standard iX1's cabin is here, just with more room to stretch out. The curved digital display setup running BMW's snappy iDrive 9 interface feels like a tech-savvy assistant. You get a dedicated homepage for all your widgets, and then there are the driver profiles and the BMW digital key.
Meaning your phone is now smart enough to be a car key. And if you think that is too mainstream, then BMW also throws in this key card, which means that you can unlock the car like you would the door of a 5-star suite. But of course, without the butler or the infinity pool, because this is, after all, a 1 Series and not a 7.
Massage seats, unfortunately, gone. Yes, the dual-motor standard iX1 pampered you with the front massage functions, but the LWB version has sacrificed them in the name of cost efficiency. What's also gone is the 360-degree camera. However, you do get a parking and a reversing assistant.
And also because this car focuses more on rear seat comfort. So while your back may not feel as refreshed, BMW hopes that you will find a lot of joy in reclining the roomier rear seats using this nylon strap. I wonder how that is premium.
With the bigger cabin, the panoramic sunroof is also significantly bigger now, meaning your Instagram reels of cloud porn just got an upgrade.
Then we talk about the space. There's 109 millimeters extra knee room, which is phenomenal. You also have plenty more leg space now, so you can nicely stretch out. Even the seat cushioning has been extended by 15 millimeters, so the under-thigh support is also quite good despite the batteries in the floor. Sure, now this is not 7 Series lounge-like experience, but it's not the economy class experience that you had with the standard iX1 either. This one is more like premium economy, to say the least.
As for the spare wheel, this car will come with one. Packed in a Rexine cover, and it sits on the boot floor as it's compulsory on Indian roads.
And you will need to carry that spare wheel on your road trips because you do not get BMW's acclaimed run-flat tires anymore with the iX1 LWB. They've gone for the standard tires, which I think is a very good thing because that also improves their ride quality, both for the front as well as for the rear.
Interestingly, even though the rear motor has been deleted in the long wheelbase version, which could have freed up underfloor storage, BMW has chosen to keep the boot space unchanged at 490 litres. So while there is no frunk or underfloor bonus, you will still have enough room for your weekend getaway, assuming you're not carrying half your wardrobe.
When it comes to BMWs, handling prowess is something that's a given. However, with the iX1 LWB, well, it's comfort that has taken the driver's seat. And razor-sharp driving dynamics, that's buckled up somewhere in the rear.
Right away, you can feel the extra weight of the stretched body and the battery pack working against BMW's usual sporty dynamics. The standard iX1 with its dual motor setup had a near perfect weight balance, which gave it a planted feel even when pushing hard into corners.
But in the LWB version, with no rear motor, most of the weight distribution is, well, in the front and in the center of the car because you only have the front motor and, of course, the weight of the batteries in the belly. So it's not that magical 50-50 weight distribution that we've come to like with the BMWs. Don't you get that with the iX1 LWB? The front wheel drive layout also means that under hard acceleration or when you're exiting spiritedly out of bends like these, there is plenty of torque steer like you saw right now. And the electronics are always working hard to keep things in check.
The steering itself remains accurate and well weighted, but don't expect the sharp agility that BMWs usually bring to the table. The suspension setup is tuned more towards comfort than outright handling, which means body roll is more noticeable, especially when you start pushing into bends.
Adaptive dampers, well, you don't get that in here. To keep the costs in check, they have gone with a fixed setup for the suspension, which out of the box provides great urban comfort. But when it comes to handling dynamics, when it comes to attacking the bends, that ultimate driving machine trend from BMW, that's not going on for the iX1 here. Especially when you hit undulations mid-corner or if there are sudden switchbacks, you see all that or you feel all that mass, all that weight trying to settle in.
That being said, the iX1 LWB still feels composed at highway speeds, and the longer wheelbase actually makes high-speed cruising more relaxed than the standard iX1. The extra stretch in the chassis also helps iron out minor road imperfections better. But throw it at a set of rough patches and the ride gets jittery, especially for the rear passengers. The extra weight and the softer suspension also means that over really bad roads, passengers will feel more movement than they might expect from a BMW. And because there is no rear motor to distribute the weight more evenly, the car squats and pitches a little more under hard acceleration and braking compared to the standard X1.
So is it fun to drive? Well, it is. Not in the same way as a typical BMW is, but it is not shabby at all. It is much better than most other cars that you'll buy in this price bracket. Is it comfortable? Absolutely. And well, with this car, that's all that matters.
This is a car for those who want a relaxed, efficient commute and the occasional spirited Sunday drive. If you were expecting the sharp, playful dynamics of BMW's smaller SUVs of the past, the iX1 LWB's laid-back nature might take some getting used to.
The iX1 LWB is not trying to be a performance EV. Overtakes still come briskly, still quicker than its ICE counterparts, but it lacks that sense of urgency that the dual-motor iX1 displayed. And the sport mode, like I said, it does sharpen things up a bit, but get a bit enthusiastic with the throttle and there's always that torque steer to contend with.
For those who prioritize efficiency, BMW offers a range maximizing mode as well. This will restrict top speed to 90 km an hour, dull the throttle response, and it even tones down the air conditioning to squeeze every possible kilometer out of the battery.
In this mode, we could extract about 6.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour from the battery pack, which is actually quite good, but it does come with its restrictions, like I said. Drive it in its normal settings, however, and that number drops quite significantly. So in the range maximizing mode, you should be able to just about go past the 400 kilometer mark. But in the normal driving modes, 340 to 360 kilometers is what your real world estimate should be.
Charging? No surprises there. The battery pack is unchanged, so the charge times are identical to the standard iX1. 10 to 80% on a 30 kilowatt DC charger will take 110 minutes. The 11 kilowatt home charger will take about 6.5 hours. And this car also supports 130 kilowatt fast charging, where 10 to 80% takes about 29 minutes, assuming you can find a charger that fast.
This is another area where BMW adds their premium touch. They have something called the charging concierge service. So think about it this way. If you're out on a long road trip and you're stranded with a low state of charge because maybe you forgot to charge or you didn't find reliable chargers on the way, you can simply give BMW a call, and the nearest dealership or their roadside assistance partners alliance will send a charging van for you to give you that quick top up so that you can drive to the next fast charger. Not just that, whenever you're planning long road trips with your EV, this very service will help you identify the different charging options along the way so that you can plan better. And if the need be, they can even book one of the chargers for you, book a slot for you, so that by the time you arrive there, the charging slot is vacant for you.
The last bit is particularly useful because we all know how frustrating it is to arrive at a charging station only to find it occupied by someone else who's probably parked there for free Wi-Fi. I'm looking at you, Tata Nexons. All of this enhances the ownership experience, but at the end of the day, it still isn't a proper 450 plus kilometer EV in the real world conditions. So while it eases some of the range anxiety, it doesn't completely eliminate it. Remember those two trends we talked about earlier? BMW nailed it with the second one, the LWB or the long wheelbase luxury feel, but didn't quite hit it with the first, which is 450 plus kilometers of real world range. Still, it makes up for it with a plush cabin and a really inviting price tag.
Think about it this way. You're getting a BMW for roughly the same price as a premium EV from Hyundai or Kia without really feeling like a compromise. So as far as I'm concerned, in my books, I still maintain the iX1, even in its LWB avatar, is the best buy in the segment.